Hello, hello, hello. This is Crystal with Love. And also, well, this is Crystal with Love. And happy, oh my goodness, you guys, I am so under the weather since coming back from Essence. But happy Wednesday to everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm like, is this Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. I came back from Essence and was under the weather, but I wanted to be sure to jump on because number one, I haven't talked to you guys in a couple of days and I was missing that. And then number two, I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened at Essence. And then I also had some conversation I wanted to have about Love and Marriage Huntsville. So number one, if you can hear me, please put an XO in the chat so that I know you guys can hear me okay, even though my voice is a little under the weather right now. But let me know that you can hear before I really get into this. Again, happy Wednesday. I hope everybody is enjoying this weird week because the 4th of July fell on a very weird day. With it being on Tuesday, the Essence Music Festival was this past weekend. I attended the festival with the intention of doing a book signing on Dear Alpha Female. Hey, Christine. Hey, KW. For the book, and I was super excited to meet a lot of you there and to have a conversation about the alpha female because there was a lot going on there. But unfortunately, I was a part of the Lit House, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. I want to make sure that I let a few more people hopefully come in so that I don't have to repeat what happened on my end. But like I said, I was excited to meet a lot of you. I actually still got a chance to meet some fans of the channel, and that was an amazing thing. I always enjoy meeting anybody in person that listens to the channel as a part of the conversation. I think a big part of my enjoyment with this channel is actually getting a chance to go back and forth with you guys and hear your opinions. Um, and so it's always great when I get a chance to meet you in person and you let me know what you think of the channel. I also got a chance to talk to a few women that had copies of the book and get their opinion on that. So that was great as well. I'm always eager to hear what people think of the book once they have it. And if they want to talk about their perspective and I love hearing the feedback. And so far the feedback has been great. So that was awesome. I also had the opportunity to be a part of the Women's Honors Women on Block brunch on Saturday. It was a beautiful event sponsored by Shea Moisture, and I actually got a chance to hang out with two of the ladies from Bell Collective. Aikisha and Soguchi came by. Shouts out to both of them for coming and hanging out. I sent them a personal invite, and they obliged and came to the brunch. But it was a beautiful just a beautiful moment, right? We honored 7 amazing women, actually 8. There was one woman that had passed on, and her sister was there to receive her honor, which was very touching and sad but touching, and just a testament to how important legacy is. But I want to shout out Shea Moisture, Smirnoff, Insights Marketing hosted it and allowed my company Enchanted PR to be a part of it. It was just a great event. Always the opportunity to uplift other women is something I really enjoy. So I had a chance to do that. And again, shout outs to the Bells for coming through. They both looked beautiful and they're all white. Hey, D Glove, thank you so much for joining. So that was awesome. And then after that, as you guys know, this was the 50th year. This is the 50th year of hip hop. And so Essence did several tributes throughout the weekend, but I also was a part of the all white honors with the legendary Slick Rick, and hosted by Big Tigger, and Ed Lover was there as well. It was a really cool event. So I had a good time at Essence, but I didn't get a chance to do my Dear Alpha Female conversation, which made me a little sad, but we're going to talk a little bit about that and what happened. I also want to talk about the show. I don't know if anybody is out there, if you guys are in the chat and you attended the Essence Music Festival. I would love to hear from you what you thought of this year's lineup. There's been a lot going on. I'm going to get into a little bit of that later on tonight. You guys stay tuned because at 9 o'clock, I'm going to have a conversation with Dennis Byron. You guys know he and I do like current events together. And so at 9 o'clock, we're going to go into that a little bit deeper, but I wanted to come on beforehand and just talk to my people and let you guys know what happened on my behalf at Essence. As you guys know, I was a part of the Lit House celebration, which was put together by Tamika Newhouse and also Kimberly Jones, two ladies that I know really well. I've known Tamika for a really long time, probably almost near 20 years at this point. And I had talked with her earlier about being a part of that celebration. Basically, she is the founder of Black Writers Weekend, and she's a resource. She basically is a resource for writers. And I've known that. I've known Tamika since I was community relations manager at Barnes and Noble. That's how far she and I go back. That was my first real job after graduating college, my first real corporate job. I worked as a community relations manager for Barnes and Noble, and that's where I met this independent author named Tamika Newhouse. And needless to say, years later, I moved to Atlanta, and she moved to Atlanta shortly after that. And so she and I have had a relationship since that time. I actually did PR for her very first AAMBC Awards, which is now part of the infamous Black Writers Weekend. So I've had a chance to watch her impact and influence over the literary community grow, and been honored to be a part of that as well. And so, of course, I was excited about being featured with the Lit House. Another young lady that I know and have a lot of respect for, Coriel, was going to be hosting it, and I was going to be featured as the literary talent talking about the book. You guys know, I really believe I wrote this book because I felt like there was a need for, especially women of color. Um, this is the book, Dear Alpha Female. It's Not Him, It's You. The title has rubbed a few sisters the wrong way, which I'm okay with because I felt like the reason for the book was so much more important than the feelings that may be triggered by the title. And I also feel like the title was rooted in truth, because I was the alpha female that was in my own way of finding love. So Coriel and I had talked a little bit before about some things I wanted to touch on, and all was well. I went to Essence, a good friend of mine, and I, along with my assistant, my producer, and also my DJ, who you guys also know is my daughter. And we were super excited about being a part of the festivities, working some projects, and then also doing the Lit House, and then attending some Essence sponsored events. I got an email along with the rest of now my event, the Lit House, Dear Alpha Female, was scheduled for Friday. It was scheduled for Friday at 8:00. I was super excited. I talked with Tamika before leaving, and let her know that I, was headed that way, and got the information about where everything was. I got an email, so I got in Thursday night, and we got prepared, because my intent was to broadcast the conversation here on my YouTube channel. I know a few of you had asked me when I posted the flyer, was the conversation going to be live? And I said, yes, we're going to broadcast the conversation, because it's specifically the kind of conversation that I do here on this channel, where we talk about what we can do as women, to put ourselves in a better position to receive the love that God has for us, right? So I was excited to do that. Team was in place. Got an email at 10:00 on Friday morning that said, unfortunately, all the events for the Lit House had been canceled. And I'm not gonna lie, I was super, super, super disappointed. Like, my entire reason for coming for the weekend was really to connect with people from the channel here, and then also, people for the book, and really to get the book out and to have this conversation. Now, let me also say, Essence Festival, I have attended Essence Music Festival for years. I have taken clients as a publicist. I have brought clients to Essence. I have attended, most of my work for Essence has been as a publicist, right? And I have also worked different events for different people doing parties during Essence Weekend. I actually was reminded today that my son, who was also an author and also was published through one of Tamika's imprints years ago. Did his first book signing at Essence 10 years ago. So I'm a patron of Essence Music Festival. You guys know I'm also a big, big, big fan of Essence Magazine. I believe Essence Magazine probably is a big part of why I saw myself so connected to being a writer, right? I look up to Susan Taylor. I had the opportunity to meet her several times, had the opportunity to meet Maya Angelou, but Essence Magazine has been a part of like who I am to me as a Black woman. Because as a little girl, I still, I'm from the generation where magazines actually came to the house, and the only subscriptions I had was Essence magazine, and I think Vogue. I think I got Vogue later on, but really Essence really was the first opportunity for me, a young girl growing up between Ohio and Oklahoma, to see myself represented. So Essence means a lot to me. So anyway, flashing back to Friday, I get an email that states that all the activities for the Lit House have been canceled, and that they're apologetic and letting us know that they will reach out, later with more information. So I think I was kind of stunned because, it was 10 o'clock. My event wasn't until 8 o'clock that night. And I had my team. We were going to go over early because, like I said, I had talked to Tamika and she told me I could come over early and set up my books, right? So I wanted to go over and set up my books, maybe sell some, have conversation, put out some flyers, and then see the setup so we would know how everything was going to be set up for later that evening. We wanted to broadcast the conversation. So we were actually like on our way to leave our Airbnb when I got this email saying that everything was being canceled. I didn't hear from Tamika or Kimberly, but I did a little bit of research because other people were reaching out to me, asking me, was it true? Had it been canceled? And learned that Essence had shut down had shut down the Lit House because it wasn't a part of the sponsored Essence events. And I got to tell you guys, I felt there was a lot going on social media. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but like I said, I would love to hear in the comments if any of you heard when you're watching this or later. But I was upset, and I was really saddened because of two things. Number one, Essence was a lot different this year. The name was changed. The official name was Essence Festival of the Culture. And it just felt very different when I went. Actually, after I got up and went and got over the fact that I was disappointed that the event was canceled, I went to the convention center because I had an event the next day that I needed to work. So I needed to get myself together, realize that, okay, I'm very disappointed. The reason I came is not happening. But, and I understand copyright, the fact that Essence has this weekend. And if you use Essence name, and you're not affiliated with Essence, that's a problem, but that's not what happened. At least not to my knowledge. The flyer that I posted on my channel did not say Essence Magazine. I looked at it several times. I looked at it over again because I knew when I posted it that was really important. The Lit House had worked out a situation with a Black-owned bookstore that was actually there in New Orleans, which is a very big part of this conversation. And that bookstore was hosting the Lit House events. So, I went to the convention center, and I'm telling you guys, the energy was just very, very different than it has been in years past. There weren't the same number of vendors. Now, I really should have prefaced this by saying I intended to be a vendor at Essence myself. And I reached out to Essence. I reached out and did not hear back. Sent my money in, did not hear back. Lots of people sent their money in, did not hear back. It was organized very differently. They hired different people. I have several friends that have worked for Essence. Many of them said they weren't working this year, so things were very different. So I already had a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, about the situation, just because I did try to be a vendor myself. because I intended to be a vendor with a couple of friends and then also do the book signing with Lit House, so that I was just really engrossed in what was happening over the weekend. Now, I think it's important to suggest that Essence does not own the 4th of July weekend in New Orleans, right? Essence does, definitely has always used that weekend as the Essence Music Festival. Definitely, like I said, the title has changed now to Essence Festival of Culture. I'm not really sure what that's about, but what I'm saying is Essence doesn't own the 4th of July weekend in New Orleans. There's no such thing. Essence, you cannot use Essence name if you're doing an event. But to suggest that Essence owns that weekend is, I feel like should not be legal. That's ridiculous. I think if you are promoting, and I learned this early on as a publicist because I had clients that were booked to do an after party, and that after party used the name Essence. It said during Essence Music Festival, and Essence sent them an immediate cease and desist. And I learned, okay, well then you have to be sure that you don't use that reference if you're doing something during 4th of July weekend, Independence Day weekend in New Orleans. And that's fair. I wouldn't want somebody to say they were doing something under an enchanted PR event if it wasn't. However, I pulled up my flyer just so that I could read it to you guys. It says the Lit House presents June 30th at 8 p.m. Dear Alpha Female, it's not him, it's you, the conversation. An interactive conversation designed to help you attract the love you deserve at Lit House, New Orleans. Dear Alpha Female, it's not you explores the power dynamics and self-reflection on the journey to love. And then it had our Lit House. So this is the flyer. It doesn't have Essence. It might have been. It obviously was happening during Essence weekend. So, in any case, it was shut down. It was shut down along my event, along with all the other events happening during that time. Very disappointing. And there was a lot of conversation on social media. And I just want to know what you guys think about that before we get into some of the other topics that I want to talk about. I definitely just want to be honest about how I felt with that. I feel like Essence is a huge money maker, and like I said, I've been a fan since I was a very young girl. I think also the spirit of the Essence Music Festival to me, and like I said, I've been working it for almost the last 20, well, I would say 15 years, different events with clients participating in the actual concert and things like that. The purpose of Essence to me has always been the celebration of women of color, right? Just a celebration of African American culture, specifically women of color. Because Essence represents, the strength and beauty and tenacity of Black women. I think the spirit of entrepreneurship is in there, leadership, all of that. I feel like all of that is represented. It's a beautiful weekend, I think, and my opinion has not changed on that. It is actually one of the most beautiful experiences I think you will ever have as an African American to attend, because you do see so many beautiful examples of our impact being celebrated, right? So I can say that because I'm talking about, you see AT&T. AT&T does a wonderful job of really being present. McDonald's, Cisco, I mean, any corporate company you can imagine, from Tide, right, all the way up to, like I said, Walmart. All these major corporations seeding into our community. And then what also is important is you see these major corporations courting us and realizing that Black women are so important to their bottom line. But you also have the opportunity to really celebrate the small Black business that you may not know about represented at the festival, right? So you see all these different products and authors and speakers and entrepreneurs. Just so many different forms of Black leadership are present during that weekend, not just in the convention center, but also throughout the convention center as well. Thank you so much, Miss Brown. If you guys can hear me, please put an X in the comment. Also, please let me know what you guys think about this. I love the fact that, you guys are listening, but I really want some feedback. I want to hear what you guys think about what I'm saying and about Essence. And then we're going to get into, I promise we're going to get into some of my thoughts on that, on some of the other things, specifically Love and Marriage Huntsville, because there's a lot going on with Love and Marriage Huntsville that I felt like I needed to address. But like I said, with Essence, you see pretty much every aspect of Black business represented and celebrated in a way that it's not during the rest of the year. I know people that have been vendors at Essence. I have never specifically been a vendor. I have tried to for the last 3 years. I don't think that I would probably try again after this year, seeing what happened. But I have seen vendors come to Essence and sell out products. Most importantly, I patronized a bunch of vendors over the years. I know if I go to Essence, I'm going to be able to get products from other African American businesses, and that's important to me. So for the company to shut down a small business that's representing African American authors, and I believe African American authors are, self-included, are some of the most important artists around. I think art is so important, right? Because our voices are what is proof of our existence. Without our voices, there's no proof of our existence. And so when you attack a group of authors that are just coming there, not interrupting and not taking away sales from your event, but are a part of that weekend, to me, that's it's very dangerous, because number one, what we have done yet again is pitted us against us, right? And then number two, like I said, this was not a gathering of authors that represent the voice of today's woman. There were female authors, Black female authors. So for our voices to be silenced on that weekend, I definitely feel some kind of way about it. I feel like there was another way to handle that. It was not being held on the grounds of the convention center. I did not talk, because after my event was canceled, I had other things to do. So I did 2 events, and let me tell you something. There were other events happening during that weekend, as you guys can probably imagine, that were not sponsored by Essence, right? And those events continued on. I've been a part of other events. It's a collective of what happens during that weekend. And number one, it brings a lot of money into the city of New Orleans, which needs it, at this point. But number two is really, I would think it is an opportunity for Essence to be a resource for all things Black, progressive, influential, right? Because not only do you host the concerts, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Not only do you host these concerts and host these conversations and these business, these small businesses, but you also are a catalyst for other businesses to come and be a part of it. So to come and be a part of that weekend, right? Because I've always been taught that being a resource is the highest level of influence, right? If my PR agency, if I was still doing that at the level I used to, if my PR agency inspired other PR agencies to be a part of something, then that makes me bigger than if I'm just doing it for my clients, right? Being a resource is always the highest level of influence. So for Essence to shut down Black female writers is almost contradictory in its mission. And it was heartbreaking, right? Because you got to think about that. Essence, understand the festival is what most people know of Essence, but I grew up reading Essence magazine and loving the fact that I could open this magazine up and see Black female writers, which is what I aspire to be. I become a Black female writer. I look forward to being a part of it. I try to become a part of it with Essence. Essence doesn't respond, right? They have too much. They can't even respond via email to say, we've taken your money for a vendor's booth, but it's for you to apply, but we can't even tell you that you're not accepted. And then when I try to go another route to be a part of this weekend, it's they send a cease and desist and try to silence us the day of. So very disappointing to say the least. I am going to continue on. We will do another. Actually, going to talk to Coriel. She agreed to do the conversation here on my YouTube channel, which is better anyway because you guys will be able to hear it and it will not be limited. I am hard. I mean, like I said, it's heartbreaking because, again, I just want to say it again. For Essence Magazine to silence Black female writers is crazy. It's crazy. Now, I could see it if it was a copyright infringement and they were using the name, but for them to bully others, and it seems like whenever we as Black businesses get to a certain level, we only bully each other. We don't bully others, right? We bully each other. So is Essence bullying Black female writers? Issue. Huge issue with that. Hey, Christine, so they put new people in charge. They have picks and chooses. Unfortunately, they snuff people out that have been a part of Essence for years. That's very true. That's very true because that is exactly what happened. And even the vendors were very different. It just was a different energy. They did have authors there that were a part of Essence, and I'm assuming that might have been why I got turned down because they had a company, Mahogany Books, that I'm a fan of and I'm happy for, but they controlled the author. I didn't know that they were controlling that, so I probably will apply and see because I was told I went into their booth and I asked, how do you become a part of this? And so you have to apply, you have to be a part of Mahogany Books. And I'm not mad at that. My concern is that outside of Essence, why stop other writers from being able to reach people? This was not on the grounds of Essence. There's enough for all of us. That's the mentality that keeps us stuck. So anyway, that's my issue. That's what I have to say about that. Moving on. I did see, for those of you that watch Married at First Sight with me, and we talk about it all the time, I did see Shaquille and Eris together. They were on a panel at Essence. I didn't see their panel, but I saw them exiting. I was coming in as they were leaving, and I saw them. We actually went out on Bourbon Street just to kind of, after everything was over, just to kind of release some stress and everything, and we saw them again. And yes, Mahogany Books is Ramonda's book company, D Glove. I actually went to high school with the young lady that owns Mahogany Books. So I'm going to apply. And like I said, hopefully I'll be able to get my books in there. But my issue was, good for them. I'm happy that they have an account with Essence. My issue is Essence silencing Black female writers. That's my problem. So anyway, I saw Eris and Shaquille together. I am assuming that means that Shaquille and Kirsten are not together, which I didn't think that would work anyway. That seemed to be a really far reach for Kevin Frazier, but shouts out to him for trying to do that on the reunion. You guys saw what I said. If you watched this channel, you saw I really didn't believe that Kirsten and Shaquille were a match. So I wasn't surprised when I didn't see Kirsten with Shaquille. Eris definitely looked like he was enjoying the attention. And Shaquille looked like he was having a good time as well. So I think that both of them, I'm not sure if they're dating or what. I didn't talk to them or anything, but it seemed like they're enjoying the celebrity, vibe that they're getting right now before they start up another episode of another season of Married at First Sight. But I did want to let you guys know that, coming to report to my people, that Eris and Shaquille are out being bachelors and getting their bachelor on. So interesting. But they definitely like they were having a good time, sans the ladies. And definitely were suited and booted for the occasion. I saw them twice there. Before I move on from Essence and move to Love Marriage Huntsville, because I really want to talk about that for about 30 minutes. And then I want you guys to stay tuned if you can, if you have time, because Dennis Byron and I are going to talk about, we're going to start at 9 talking about some things that have happened over the last couple of days that I really think you guys will enjoy hearing about. So hopefully you'll be able to hang on for a little longer than the next 30 minutes. But before I close out on Essence, I want to ask, I want to just say my piece on another very disappointing thing with Essence. Before I go to the disappointment, I'll start with the good because I try to do that here on this channel. I thought that Missy Elliott's performance was groundbreaking. Um, Groundbreaking. I think Missy Elliott's performance was groundbreaking. I think that it proved Missy deserves a Super Bowl performance. I hope that her team sent over, footage of that amazing performance to the Super Bowl. And I just want to shout out Missy Elliott because people, I think we all have a reverence for Missy, right? I don't, you can't say Missy Elliott's name and people don't go, she's the shit. She's everything. However, I don't think we mention, especially in light of what we are seeing over the last 10 years, that Missy has been at the top of her game. She is reverenced and revered by everybody, but she has never taken off her clothes. She has never um, talked badly about another artist. She has never presented herself as anything less than a creative. And her creativity has been able to be focused solely on her talent and never her body, right? I don't think people think about that enough. People say that there's no way for female rappers or female artists to get by in this world these days without showing their body. They have to do that. And yet Missy Elliott is a perfect example of someone that has never given into that belief system, and she is reverenced, in this business far. I mean, she's being honored in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She came out a few Super Bowls ago, and people went crazy. She has the type of respect in this industry that very few women have, and it's all based on creativity. And so I just want to remind us in that conversation that we have, where we often make it seem like women are victims of of a masochistic society. And I do think that there are things in place that suggest it's easier for women to become successful when they do the easy thing, right? Which is to show their body, turn around, Ice Spice, bad performance, turn around and twerk, and the crowd's energy goes up. Yes, but I don't think that we're also acknowledging that you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's a choice. It's a choice. Everybody's not a victim. You don't have to always do that. True talent shines through, and I think Missy is a beautiful example of that. She also doesn't go back and forth. You've never heard her hate on any other female artists. Um, and yet she still remains one of those artists that when you mention her name, people will come out for. So I just want to start by saying that her performance to me was the highlight of Essence Music Festival. Lauryn Hill also was there, and she's another example of somebody that is, no matter what she's done, we still respect and revere Lauryn Hill to a certain the highest regard because of her talent, and never ever has she disrespected herself. Now whether she's been late or not shown up and all that kind of stuff, okay. But I'm talking about her body, And then last but not least, you guys know I have to shout out my people, TLC. And if anybody is in Irvine, California, I'm going to be at their last two shows. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to be at their shows like I usually would, but I'm going to be with my girls this weekend. And so if you're going to be in Irvine, I will be there at their concert. And TLC is still touring. TLC is still putting it down. And again, females that have never, ever disrespected themselves. That's why it's so easy for me to represent them. It's so easy for me to be their publicist and talk up and sell them to anybody I need to sell them to, because it's real. It's apparent. The talent and the substance is there. And so they have not been invited to Essence, which is ridiculous to me. But they're fine anyway, and they'll be performing in Irvine, California this weekend, along with Concord, California, on Sunday. So there are instances of females that have been successful without taking off their clothes, without um, turning their backside to the audience, right? And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for sexuality in music, because I think music is a reflection of life. However, I don't think we're victims to that, and I don't think when you have the Essence Music Festival, we're still talking about Essence, where you have entire families that come for the weekend. I mean, one of my biggest highlights with Essence is you can go to the convention center and you can see products for little girls. You can see products for little boys. You can see, hello, Colton. Thank you so much for joining. And I want to make sure I acknowledge you. Casey Johnson, she's been eating off one album for over 20 years. Absolutely. But that's all because it's talent driven. But Essence, my point is, Essence has always been a family event, right? It's been, I saw Janet Jackson at Essence. That was my first time seeing Janet Jackson. It was amazing. I've seen Beyonce at Essence. I've seen, I mean, I don't, it's probably SWV, countless performers at Essence. Now, this year, I understand, was a celebration of hip hop, right? And I think that we've seen that celebrated everywhere. But I want to go on the record saying I don't think that the only version of hip hop that should be celebrated is one that disrespects or misogynizes women. Because Missy Elliott is, to me, the definitive example of hip hop, and she does not do that. MC Light. I mean, there's so many women in hip hop that don't do that. Now, the current hip hop class is a little different, and this is what we were talking about today. Yes, Miss Brown said people are confusing objectification with empowerment. Thank you so much for saying that. I hear all these women saying it's my body, it's my choice, and it's my body, I can do what I want. Yes, but when the only thing that you're leading with is your body, that is suggesting that that's the only thing that you have, right? When we have Essence Festival of Culture, right, that is supposed to represent our culture in its totality, and the headlining performance is Meg Thee Stallion. And I want to preface this by saying I think that Meg is a lyrical talent. However, it's hard to get to that lyrical talent because there's so much sex being thrown at you that you can't get over that. If I had small children that I took to Essence Festival, even teenagers, I would have been furious and I would have left. I don't think it was indicative of what Essence has stood for. Janelle Monáe, I worked with Janelle Monáe early on in her career when she was signed to Purple Ribbon. I wrote a couple of bios for her, interviewed her several times, worked with Purple Ribbon to put out articles on her. And seeing her show, free her area, get off my areola and show her breast to the entire audience was disappointing, because I don't think that was the place for that. And I think there's somehow we've confused our culture with overt sexuality. And it's almost like if we want to be loud, we want to be over sexualized, and then we want to use culture as the excuse. And I don't think that's the only way that you can express Black culture. Beyond that, I don't think that correlates with Black culture. I don't think that Black culture means, in order to be true to the culture, you have to show you're behind. Like, that is ridiculous. There are women that are a part of our culture that are impactful and influential that don't have to show their ass. And to suggest that that's the definition of our culture means that we've lost sight of ourselves, right? I think that's my opinion, and this is my channel, so I can say that. I think that, for young Black girls to feel like the only way they can express themselves is to get naked, and not just get naked at this point. It is not just getting naked. It is like it is being vulgar. It is vulgarity. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And my problem is, as the people that are gatekeepers in the culture, we act like no one can say anything because if you say something, you're hating on the culture. No, I'm not hating on the culture. How did this become the culture? Right? How did this become the culture? How did vulgarity become the definition of our culture? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and again, if that's true, then why is Missy Elliott so highly respected and she's not done anything like that? You know, why is that? We're able to do it certain times, but not others. Why, if you're saying that the only way Black women can be respected and accepted and celebrated is if they're naked or they're turned around, then that's something about Black. Then we're saying that we don't really believe that Black women are magical. This whole idea of Black girl magic, if we really believe that, then you don't really believe that, because if you did, you would not believe that Black women had to be naked or speaking about their sexuality in order to be celebrated. It's ridiculous to me. And I just think overall, like I said, I don't want to keep going in on Essence because I am a fan of what Essence stood for. And I feel like this weekend, from everything from the entrepreneurs being X'd out, so many entrepreneurs not being included, to the Black female writers being silenced, to a headlining performance that was not family appropriate. I feel like I don't know who's in charge of Essence at this point, but maybe Essence doesn't know what Essence stands for anymore. Um, and I'll say that. I just I mean, and I'm not saying there's not room for everything, but there's an imbalance happening in our culture right now. And we have to be willing to say it. Like India Ari spoke up and said that she did not appreciate. In fact, let me pull those. I'm going to read to you guys what she said, because I feel like it was so important, and I'm so happy that she said it, because so often if someone says that that's not an artist, you're called a hater. You're saying that you don't want the people to be happy. But India Ari said the issue is what is context. Humanity does everything, but does everything belong on a stage? No. Is everything for kids? No. Is everything for everybody? No. So when we as a culture make something like this mainstream, it shows a lack of discretion and discernment. To those in the comments who laugh at anyone who wants these things for our culture, you certainly have that right. Just as many folks have the right to want mainstream, international export our music to show us in a respectful light. I like to go on the record saying this won't age well, and that's my issue. I love Janelle and Meg the way I love us all, and I don't like this moment. Don't bother debating me back. I don't care, and I do this for 25 years. I've done this. I agree with her. And I hate that people feel like if you say something like that, you're being a hater or you don't love those women. I feel like Janelle Monáe is a beautiful, very talented young woman who would be just as beautiful and talented without showing her areola. Like, that part wasn't necessary. And I think that there have to be stipulations in place. Interesting. Over 20 years ago, Janet Jackson did that, and I don't remember CBS or ABC. You guys probably will correct me. Went berserk, right? Went berserk. And that's a white audience. And I don't believe it was right what happened, because I believe that Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake were a part of that. But we all see what happened when white folks got angry when that happened and they shut her career down. It's so funny that you have Black children in the audience, and there were Black women that were getting up with their children and leaving. Thank you, Casey, says CBS. So CBS did not feel like that was appropriate for their daytime family-driven audience, right? But when we do it to ourselves, we're okay with it. It's like, I'm okay with my kid being exposed, and I'm not saying that, I don't know what the limit is on the age when you bring your children to a concert. I've never taken my kids to an Essence Music Festival concert, but I've always felt like it was family appropriate. I don't now. I don't now. If I had my, guys, I have a son and a daughter. If my daughter and son were with me under 18, I would have got up and left just like the other people were doing. Because, well, first of all, I would have known not to bring them to a Meg Thee Stallion situation. But you got to realize a lot of Essence audience is not Meg Thee Stallion's audience. So they might not have known what was about to happen. They soon found out. But again, my last thing on Essence is maybe Essence has lost sight of what Essence is about. And that's my problem with Essence. Now, moving on before it gets too late, because I only have 10 minutes. So I want you guys to bear with me as I talk a little bit about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, and I'm gonna have to probably go back into this a little bit later. The streets of social media, specifically Instagram and YouTube, have been going crazy because Melody Holt, or actually, I'm not sure what her maiden last name is, because at this point, I want to help her any way I can get her maiden name back. I had a situation not quite like hers when my ex-husband stepped out on me. I got a divorce, and for a while I kept my last name. And then after a bit, because I wanted it to be there for my children, and then after a bit I realized, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going back to my maiden name completely, which is Jordan. And I am not going to keep his last name because he doesn't respect me. He did not respect me. And I'm not going to be walking around with his last name. My children will get over it. And they did. And I believe Melody's will as well. Melody Cherie, I'll call her Melody Cherie because I don't want to disrespect her by calling her by her ex-husband's last name at this point. She finally had enough, right? And I think this is the thing. A lot of times people take the fact that you carry yourself with class, and you have a little bit of decency about you, and you carry yourself like a lady. They think that is a weakness, right? And so they keep poking at you because they assume that because you are not responding to the BS in like manner that you can't. And so finally, after this has been almost 10 years, because this situation was going on for years before the show picked it up. And now the divorce, they've been apart for almost 4 years. So this is almost a decade in. Melody's finally had enough. And she took to her live to share with the young lady. And I know people know who they know her name is Coleslaw. They know her actual name, but I don't want to call her Coleslaw because she is a young woman. She's not as young as she was when she first started this, but she's a young woman. And I'm not, my goal is not to demean anybody, but it is a situation that I think people can learn from. Just because Melody chose to carry herself with class does not mean that she does not have hands, and that she wouldn't get fed up. And so finally we see Melody said, look, you keep on, you want to get some of this, you can. And I said, you know what? I feel her. First of all, and every time I've talked to Melody Cherie Rogers, okay, Rita, thank you for coming through with the government last name. Thank you, baby girl. I always tell Melody every time I interview her that I respect the way she's carried herself. I don't think anybody is perfect. I wasn't perfect in my divorce. I'm sure Melody wasn't perfect in her marriage. But what I can say is that nothing that she did warranted what she has received. And it is unspeakable the lengths that Martell has continued to go to try to bring her down, because she's continued to rise, right? First of all, he should be completely embarrassed to say that he has a sex tape of himself with his wife. What kind of man are you that you would say this about a woman that you have 4 children with? What in the world? Like, I interviewed Martell one time. I will not interview him again at this point. I will not because I just feel like he has some serious issues, but there should be a level to where even your pain won't allow you to go past when you have children. And they have children that are of the age that they can hear what is going on. I do not understand What is wrong with this man that he continues to pit his mistress, his ex-mistress that he is no longer even with, or maybe he is still sexually with her, but he has not ever been publicly with her. He continues to pit her against his ex-wife, who has continued to hold herself regardless of what went on between the two of them. It doesn't even matter anymore because they are divorced. They are divorced. So if he feels like she cheated on him, so what? It's obvious that you cheated on her over and over and over again because you have a whole baby. You have a whole baby. So your argument is null and void, sir. Your argument is null and void. Regardless of what happened, it doesn't even matter. Why are you still going at her? Leave her alone. And to try to threaten her with a sex tape, which to me should only make you look stupid because she's a beautiful woman. She has your child. She is the mother of 4 of your children. At what point have you any type of decor, like, and any woman who would even get with this dude is an idiot. I would just say that. I can't even put that in a way that sounds fancy because that's just foolish. Like anybody that would seriously be with Martell until he has gone through a lot of counseling and therapy and spiritual cleansing is an idiot. Because if he would put out or threaten, I don't think he actually would do it, but hell, I don't know, to put out a sex tape of his ex-wife, his wife that he was married to for almost over 10 years, to get his 4 children with. If you would disrespect her, what do you think he would do to you? What in the world? What is wrong with women? And then on top of that, Martell's an idiot. I just push Martell to the side. This young woman that was his mistress, she is online talking to a blogger about the show. I'm sorry, I got worked up and my cold has come back. She is online talking to a blogger about the show, saying that the ratings are low because she's not on the show. She really wants to be on the show. Bless her heart. This is the thing, baby girl. Your blessing is not in someone else's husband, and it never will be. It never will be. So yes, you made a mistake. But the fact that you continue holding on, I feel like she's angry at Melody because Melody represents what she never will be, right? And Martell, the best thing that she could do is get away from Martell. Because when Martell called her a peasant years ago on the show, she has continued to make his accusation true. By going at Melody, what is she mad about? What is she angry at Melody about? You had an affair with this woman's husband for years, and just respectfully so, had a child with her husband. I don't care what he told you. I don't care what you felt. You continue to do this. And then even after they divorce, he still is never going to make you a wife because he doesn't see you as a wife. He sees you as a peasant. And so what you do is you start to act like a peasant and try to go and talk to people about and shoot at the wife. I'm going to leave you guys with, because I didn't get a chance to get into this as much as I want to. I'm going to do another one of these later. And I'm going to pull up the video of her talking to the blogger, sounding ridiculous. And it just sounds like a woman that's hurt and doesn't even realize how disrespected she's been. But I had a mentor that told me a long time ago, because I was upset about something that a woman, some colleagues had said about me, right? And she said, Crystal, she said, you can choose to be an eagle, right? And she said, right now you feel like you're ostracized, you're by yourself. Eagles fly alone, and they're a target because they're so far up. They're so high, so they're so much higher than every other bird. They fly so much higher than other birds that they're always going to be a target. So they're a lot easier to be targeted than other birds, right? So you can be an eagle. There's going to be a lot coming at you. Just know that. And if you can't handle it, Crystal, fine. Don't do it, right? So there's also the opportunity to be a regular bird, like the kind of birds that we all see flying around. They kind of fly mid-range, but there's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of them. They all fly. So you're not necessarily a target. You may get something every once in a while, but because there's so many more, you're flying at mid-range, it's not going to be that many. She said, or you can choose to be a pigeon. It's like pigeons are not ever targeted because not only are there more pigeons than any other birds, and they walk around on the ground. So they're not a target because you can't target anything that's on the ground. And I remember, she was not empathetic with me. I was, in tears and sad about what was going on. And she said, figure out what you want to do. Figure out who you are and act accordingly. And Miss Deborah Brown told me that in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that. And I feel like we're seeing a perfect example of that today. Melody is a target because she is an eagle and she's flying high. And I hope she continues to. I do like the fact that she let old girl know, don't get it twisted. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. I will still whoop your behind because, and it's not even about Martell at this point, but Melody doesn't have to do that. You know what I mean? I get the fact that she gets tired of people taking her kindness for weakness. But the reality is this poor unfortunate soul has done it to herself. And if she doesn't wisen up, she's young. If she doesn't wisen up, she's never going to be anybody's wife because you keep carrying yourself as yesterday's trash. You keep going as somebody's wife that you should be on her side at this point. You should have figured out that, you know what? This Negro was crazy and wasted my time. But you're so busy you couldn't get her husband. Now you're trying to get on her show. Girl, being pretty ain't everything. It's a lot of pretty. And you don't hold the blueprint to pretty. Nobody does. That's the thing. So if you don't have class and you don't have character, you're going to be left without much at all. So with that, I'm going to bow out. I'm going to be right back here. You guys, please don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back at 9 o'clock with Dennis Byron. We're going to get into a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to have more to say about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Melody, keep doing what you're doing. The poor unfortunate soul, bless your heart, baby girl. This ain't gonna get better till you stop trying to tap into that woman's blessing. Your blessing is never going to be hers. Thank you so much, Jay the Baker. I'm making it through. I'm going to be right back talking with Dennis Byron. I love you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Stay tuned. Okay, bye-bye.